The Delta State Commissioner of Police, Aina Adeshola, has ordered the detention of only one officer, Constable Bright Edafe, in connection with an alleged 2.5 million extortion case, even though at least 3 officers, including a Divisional Police Officer, were in the complaint, according to a statement issued by the police spokesperson, Bright Edafe. The incident came to light after a viral video showed a woman accusing the officers of collecting 2.5 million naira from her in exchange for the release of her brother, who was in custody at the Jesse Police Division.
I mean, just to reconfirm that the Delta State Police Commissioner ordered the immediate detention of only one Constable Bright, not Bright Edafe. However,
Yes.
Despite admitting that there were 3 officers involved, including DPO Chidi Nwabuzo, the commissioner ordered the detention of only the junior officer while redeploying the DPO to the command headquarters pending investigation. The decision has sparked public outrage, with many Nigerians questioning whether this reflects a pattern of bias and double standards in how the police handle internal misconduct, where junior officers are punished and senior officers are protected. Joining us now to discuss this development is a correspondent of the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, Daniel Ojukwu. Good morning. Good to have you again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's get a background, for those who are encountering this story for the very first time. Before we get to the point of the arrests that have been made, lead us through the journey to where we are now, right from when you started with this story.
Okay, so a lady had come out to make a video complaining about the Jesse Police Division, and she said that officers there, one Bright, Desmond, and the DPO had been involved in extorting her of 2.5 million. So there was an arrest, and it involved her brother. So to get her brother out of that situation, they asked for money to, get him out. So after the video went viral, the police reacted because, it's embarrassed the whole CP and the state police. And an important thing to note is that Adeshola, the CP, had just resumed office just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So it seemed like, oh, I'm just getting into office and already these people are trying to embarrass me. Yes. So the next thing, they issued a statement. And everybody was reporting that statement as, oh, they have removed the DPO. But we always see the bigger picture. They took out the DPO from his station in Jesse and then moved him to the police command. And that's where the CP works. So you're bringing someone who's been accused of a crime closer, and then you're punishing a junior officer. And a lot of Nigerians were asking, people at first saw it as, oh, yeah, you've removed the DPO, big news. But when you then look at the follow-up, that this person has then been moved to the state police command. And also, in the same statement, they said, this DPO, there have been several complaints about him. He's a notorious DPO. So why then are you not taking action?
I mean, these are very serious allegations. And do you know the status of the extorted funds, if it has been returned to the lady, and why was her brother arrested in the first place?
Okay, they haven't given details of why, of where the money is right now. They've only said they're investigating, and when the investigations are concluded, then they'll determine to what extent anybody was involved. So the details about the brother's arrest are still sketchy, but based on what the lady had said, there were flimsy allegations against her brother, and then she had already told the police that, look, there's not enough evidence against this guy, and, what's up with this case? So it was like the brother was involved in some, with some people, and they had already claimed that this boy was actually part of them. But the lady was insisting that her brother was innocent, and the police seemed to agree with her that he was innocent, and said, okay, for us to absolve him of any blame, pay us this money, and we'll close this case. We will then go after those we think are guilty. But at the end of the day, there's this thing with the police where they believe that if you go after the average person, those who don't know their rights, you can always cut corners. But with policemen, higher ranking officers know their rights. So if you sanction a DPO, for example, he might sue the police force, and then it looks bad. But junior officers most times don't know their rights. So you can throw a junior officer into a detention facility for weeks, which is illegal, by the way. But he's never going to complain because he doesn't have the muscle to fight the system. So someone like a DPO, normal procedure, if someone commits a crime or someone is accused of committing a crime, you're supposed to send that person on a suspension first, and then initiate a panel of inquiry to establish whether a crime was committed or not, and to what extent that person was involved. But in this case, it's like an elevation.
Why? Yeah, I was going to say, why do we have these stories about the Nigerian police every other week? Extortion. Is it that it's not part of their module, or the training isn't rigorous enough? Because as law enforcement officers that even have the right to bear arms, they should be held to a higher standard of morality and expectation. But what we see is it's different.
What we have is...
Where does the blame lie? Is it in training, or is it in the senior officers or junior officers? What's really going on there? And I don't think there's a sense of urgency to really do something about their reputation.
There is no sense of urgency, yes. But what we have in Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigeria. We've had the same situation with the Indian police. If you study the Indian police, they're very brutal. They'll beat up people, they'll frame things and all that. And sometimes poverty plays a role, because there are some high-end areas where the police would not do some of the things they do. We have
some certain states too.
Yes. If you're in Abuja, there are some parts of Abuja where the police would not want to mess around, because you might meet a senator's son, a minister's son, a president's son somewhere. If you look at even the raids that go on at night, they're always in the mainland. Nobody's raiding Lekki, raiding... the only thing you do in Lekki is maybe clubs. They're not going around picking people in front of their houses and saying, oh, you're probably a criminal or something, or planting weed on somebody. So it's because when you see a poor person, you believe you can take advantage. Or you see somebody who you believe has no backing, you can take advantage. And there's a structural issue. These forcemen are not taught to have empathy. They're not taught to see the average person as someone who you're supposed to protect. It's seen as a job where you're supposed to come to work Monday to Saturday sometimes, and then at the end of the month you get a salary. So there's always that element of humanity lacking in the average policeman. That is why we always see these things. There's always that it's an opportunity. You have a job, let me get rich. And it's not just the police. Across several parastatals in the civil service, in schools, you have lecturers who always want to extort people. You have anybody in the place of power. You have people in ministries. You want to get land documents. You want to get CFO. They stress your life. They see how they can make money out of you. Even in the judiciary, in 2023, the NBS, that's Nigeria's data hub, released data that says the judiciary collects the highest number of bribes on average. The judges, magistrates collect the highest.
But these are highly dysfunctional issues.
It is. It's ridiculous, but nobody's doing anything about it. Let me give you a very recent example. Aliko Dangote went to the press and said the NMDPRA boss should be investigated. Now, the man has resigned, and the petition has been withdrawn. In a sane society, the ICPC should say, look, despite the fact that a petition was withdrawn, the allegations are weighty. We are supposed to take up this investigation regardless of a withdrawn petition. But we're probably not going to hear much after that. There's this lawmaker, Ikweche, who slapped an Uber driver. Now, the Uber driver came out and forgave him in public, and that case died down.
Forgiveness is for good. Actions have consequences.
Exactly. Now, if you slap a person, the crime is not against that person, it's against the state. So the police is supposed to still prosecute that matter, regardless of a person coming out to say, we forgive you. But we have a dysfunctional society where everything goes. So nobody is intent on pursuing the law to its logical conclusion.
All right, so now back to this matter of Constable Bright, who is now the scapegoat in this scenario. Have you reached out to the police? Do you have any updates on what they intend to do with Constable Bright?
Oh, yes. We actually called, because he's a namesake to the PPRO. So
exactly.
We called Bright Edafe.
So Bright Desmond, Bright Edafe, yes.
No, we think the surname isn't there.
It's not Desmond, just Constable Bright.
There are two officers.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Desmond hasn't been, there's no action for Desmond yet, so they're still proven. But Bright was the one who actually received the funds. So even if he says, oh, my guy took out of the money.
He's the one that has the...
He's the one that
got the alert.
Yeah. So we called Bright Edafe, the Delta PPRO, and as he heard our voice, he was like, FIJ, no. He just hung up the call. So he doesn't. It's not our fault that the
Your men
force-
are acting unruly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because the funny thing is, we wish there'll be a year where we don't have to write stories like this, where we don't have to expose policemen stealing, but it's not happening.
All right. And for this DPO that has now been deployed to command headquarters pending the outcome of the investigation, what is the implication of this deployment? Does this mean that he's been deployed and continues in active service pending the outcome of the investigation? Or is he deployed to just be reporting to the command headquarters, but he's not in active service? He's just reporting pending an investigation?
The deployment is just reassigning people. The police command headquarters is pretty much the biggest job, the biggest office in the police in the state. So he's in active service. He's not been suspended. He's not been removed. You're just no longer a DPO. Every DPO has a title. You're a CP, you're an ACP, whatever. And you can even be a CSP. So you're still going to earn your salary at that rank, whether you're a DPO or not. You can be at whatever level. So being at the command headquarters, you're still getting your salary and all that. It's just a case of, well, we're not sure you did this or not. Someone has accused you, but while we're putting everything together, still come collect your salary so it doesn't blow back on us. That's just it.
Now, in previous investigations you've done as FIJ over the years, something similar, what's the regular procedure and what would be the final results?
Okay, so in an ideal world, what happens is
Yes.
the complainant comes to give a statement, and then they provide evidence to say, oh, this is where I withdrew the money, because police don't take transfers. They say, oh, I withdrew the money at this POS, and we handed it to the police. Then this often invites the POS merchants and say, oh, did this person withdraw this money from you? Who did you hand it over to? What was the reason? How often have the police done this with you? And then they put all that all that pieces of evidence together and make a case against whoever is accused. It sometimes takes months before an eventual verdict, because another room trial will be carried out. They forward it to their superiors. Some of them get invited to Abuja, where they stand trial, and they get dismissed from the force, or they get demoted, or several kinds of sanctions. And normally, after getting dismissed from the force, you're supposed to be tried as a civilian.
Yes, because you committed a crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, the big problem we have is victims hardly come forward. They're scared of the police. There are policemen who are scared of policemen. So a lot of people are scared of repercussions. They say, oh, they know my family. And there's one thing police do. When they arrest you, they take your pictures. They get pictures of your family from your phones. They get your house address. They get everything. And they start intimidating you. And they say, oh, if you let anybody know, I'll come after you, or my people will come after you.
But that's criminal.
It is. Everything we're discussing is criminal actions of the police. So they know that you probably go to their superiors or you go to the press, and sometimes they'll take money from you and tell you to report back to them every 2 days. So when they see your demeanor anytime you show up, they then weigh to see, oh, is this person going to cause trouble for us? Or are they going, if they sense you're going to cause trouble for them, they change the narrative and say you offered them a bribe, and that money is going to be used as exhibits against you.
And these are things that people have actually shared with you in the course of the investigation that has happened.
100%. We've been covering police
What
for
about
years.
at the force headquarters level in Abuja? Because, once it's blown nationally, what we often get is they've been invited to force headquarters in Abuja. Does it follow the same pattern?
The force headquarters is as corrupt as every other police division, sometimes even worse. Last year, I kept informing the then FPR, Muyiwa Adejobi, that he should take a stroll to FCID, for example. Now, the FCID is headed by DIG. At that time, it was Abiodun. His last name escapes my mind right now, but he's gone from the force now. DIG Abiodun. So I think Abiodun Alabi or something. So in the FCID, you go in there to get anything done. You probably want to get a police character certificate, you want to get a police report, whatever. And these people would always demand money from you.
To get your police character?
Yes, to get the police character certificate.
But does it not cost money? Is it supposed to be free?
Online, you pay 30,000.
Yes.
Then they direct you to the police to do biometrics, which is free. But if you do it online and you go to the police for the biometrics, they'll say, oh, you're trying to be smart. Well, biometrics cost 70,000.
Wow.
Biometrics cost 50,000. If you haven't done it online and you just come to them and say you're struggling with the online, they'll charge you 120,000 inside the SCID office. Sometimes, if you might want to post bail and you've perfected everything, they'll tell you at the counter that nobody leaves this cell for free.
Okay.
Is bail meant to be free?
Yes.
I'm asking because when I was in law school, that was what they taught us. And I find that when I came into the real life, the reality of what I see is completely different. And seeing that I'm not in active practice anymore, I don't know if the rules have changed. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, the law textbooks have also changed.
And I'm sure there's been a lot of evolution. If bail is free, because we were taught that bail is free, but it doesn't seem that bail is free. Has there ever been a point where bail has been free?
So many people don't understand the concept of bail. If you're posting bail, it's not like anybody's taking your money. There's just has to be proof of funds. And it's supposed to be a court that says, look, for you to get bail, you have to prove so and so, you have to get shorties and all that. But with the police, it's completely different. I mean, administrative bail is supposed to be go, and then we'll invite you back. Somebody has to stand as guarantor for you to show that you indeed would come back. There has never been any money attached to that process. But the police will always tell you, for you to bail yourself out, 50,000. When they're not asking you for bail, it's a bribe.
So we've seen that over the years. I mean, once you do things continuously, you begin to institutionalize it. It becomes part of your character and the ethos of your organization. And we've had different types of inspector generals of police, but they come, they go, nothing seems to change. We also have the Nigerian Public Police Service Commission, which hasn't done much about this. But as a country, what lessons are we teaching our children? You can't continue in a highly dysfunctional way that the law enforcement, which are meant to be the #1 upholders of the law, are extorting and doing illegal things. So at what point do we begin to press the hard reset button? Can the IG, one person out of a police force of several 100,000 people, begin to set the ball to reform? Where would reform have to come from? Or are we just going to live with it and say, you know, it's their behavior, we'll just manage? Because we've been managing. They say resilience. They say, oh, Nigerians are resilient people, we can persevere. These are very negative qualities, if you ask me.
Yes, it's a very good question because so many of us ask that question every single day. Where do we go from here? And if you start somewhere, you're going to see that the problem is like a hydra. I mean, the same issues we have with the police is the same issues we have with the military, the same issue we have with several others. So if we're solving it, it's not like you can solve the police problem and every other thing continues. You have to solve
healthcare, education.
It starts with the government. A president has to set the tone and say, yes, I actually want the country to change. It's not just the IG. I mean, when the IG came into power, he said that he owes everything to the president. The president brought him there. The president made him who he is. So someone like that isn't going to be independent. Someone like that is going to take orders from the president. So every action the IG takes has to be in line with the president. And every action the average policeman takes.
But I don't think the president is interested in members of the Nigerian police force extorting Nigerians for biometrics and, you know, little petty things like that. These are things the IG can, if he's not going after a political heavyweight or something, these are little issues he can deal with within his purview. And we often hear the president has given the matching order for them to arrest, to do this and that. You've been a professional for over 30 years. You know how the system works. Do you need the president, MD directors to interview you and ask these questions this morning? Yeah.
I don't think that there's any issue that's too little. Now, take, for example, the VIP thing. Several IGs come and the first thing they say is VIP recall every time.
And checkpoints, yeah.
Yeah, they're always saying this. All checkpoints come back, all VIP escorts come back. But the president had to make a statement and say, look, recall the VIP.
And have they been recalled?
That's why they're now looking like they're doing it. It's more, there's more
double down on it.
Yeah, they're now acting with more enforcement. They're going to the streets to say, if we see any policeman with VIP escorts, we'll take action. They were not doing this before until the president stepped in. So one would have said, oh, if the IG wanted it to change, it would change. but the president had to want it to change. Now, last week, we did a story about how an office directly opposite the IGP's office extorted 10 million naira. Now, this is the IG's office. Opposite is the FID, Force Intelligence Department, the intelligence arm of the police, that the IG sees every time he goes into his office. Now, they stole 10 million naira since August last year. Almost everybody in the force knew about it. The FPRO, Benjamin Hunden, was aware. The CRU, the head of the CRU, Iniani, was aware. Several high-ranking policemen were aware. The entire complaints response unit was aware since August.
Right.
Now, that matter lingered. In October, we got to learn about it. We followed this up. October, November, December, nobody was doing anything about it. And we reported that story in January. The next thing, the IG put a call across to everybody and said we have to have a meeting. Summoned everybody. So if we hadn't gone to the press, they would have just been sugarcoating the matter.
Speaking of press, I want to go back to a question I had asked you earlier about whether the DPO was redeployed and still left in active service. A number of media outlets report that he has been removed from his position. And then The Guardian, for example, I'm going to quote The Guardian. The Guardian says the GSA DPO has been removed from his position and redeployed to the command headquarters pending the outcome of the investigation. The Guardian is not the only one that reports that way. The Daily Trust reports in the same way. I believe Premium Times as well reports the same way. A number of media outlets. Why do you believe that he was not removed and redeployed? It's in the statements. You see, the police put a headline saying DPO removed. Now, if you read the statements, all of them have the statements, you're going to see that they took him out of his post as DPO. So DPO is not a police rank.
It's an appointment.
It's just an appointment. So he still has his rank and office and everything.
Officer.
Yes. So what they did was, you're no longer going to work from here, you will now work from here. So being removed is punishment. It's not punishment. It's not removed from the force. It's just removed from the office of DPO.
DPO.
It's like, right. I probably want to take him from Jesse and move him to another location as DPO. I could say I've removed him as DPO of Jesse. So it's just taking him from a local hub and moving him to the headquarters. Many people want to work in the command. In case anyone is wondering who the DPO is and you know what his name is, I believe this is CSP Chidi Nwabuzo. Yes. He reportedly committed the offense in collaboration with two officers identified as Bright and Osman. So, I mean, how do you foresee the turnout of this case? What would be your desired outcome?
And follow up, yeah.
The best thing that should happen is for the complainant to come forward and say, look, this is what happened, state the role of DPO. Now, the problem here is likely that it's going to be Bright's word against the DPOs. Because most times when junior officers say, I gave you money, they collect this money in cash. The DPO will likely say, I didn't collect any money from you. And then if nobody can prove that there was a monetary exchange by hand, then the case dies. And it affects several junior policemen. And then what happens to the other case? It feels like this whole DPO matter has now swallowed the initial case that led to this, which is where a suspect, Okoro Desmond, alleged that his gun was sold to Israel Onodreru, whose sister came out to make that viral video. It feels like that case has been, you know, subsumed by this whole brouhaha with the police. It can happen. What usually would occur is that whoever takes over as DPO of Jesse would then continue that probe. Okay. It's the natural order of things. All right. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to getting an update regarding this story. And we hope that the police, the CP is listening to this interview, and we look forward to contacting them. We hope that we'll reach out to Bright Edafe and hope to get an update regarding this case.